Hello, ladies and gentlemen, we are predicting match day 1 for the Champions League group stage. I've already filmed an early group stage prediction video as soon as the draw came out. Now, a few matches have gone by domestically for all these clubs, so now we have some idea of how their form is. I am recording this on a Sunday, so halfway through many of the domestic match days going on throughout the weekend, so I might be missing a few moments here and there for a few of the teams that played later on this weekend, so just keep that in mind. But just like last year, I am doing these predictions on the UEFA Predictor website. I created a league for you guys. If you want to join, make sure you do. I'll leave a link in the description below, and I will leave the code on the screen right here as well. A lot of my predictions don't age too well, so if you disagree with anything I say, now is your perfect chance to prove that you're a better predictor than me. A lot of these matchups are going to be tough to predict, especially all of the matches in Group F. As we all know, that is considered the group of death this year with AC Milan, Newcastle, PSG, and Borussia Dortmund. So let's start off with the match there. AC Milan versus Newcastle. Being played at the San Siro, you can make many arguments for both teams on how they could potentially crumble. AC Milan this weekend got annihilated by their rivals Inter Milan. They were looking to be in form before this matchup as well, but then they just got destroyed 5-1. Tomori did have a suspension for this match, but still, it's no excuse. Many people have been questioning Newcastle's form as well, as they started off very strong as soon as the Premier League began, beating Aston Villa 5-1. Then they lost narrowly to Manchester City and Liverpool. To be fair, those are tough matches, but then they lost to Brighton 3-1. And Brighton's a very solid side themselves, so obviously we can't count them out. They just made European football this season, and they're only looking better and better every single year. They also just beat Manchester United with the same scoreline, and we will get into that later. But yeah, this weekend they were able to beat Brentford 1-0. So I really do think this is a bit of a toss-up. I mean, it's really hard to judge Newcastle's form because they really came up against tough opponents. Meanwhile, I'm sorry to say, Inter Milan in recent times always seem to get the best of AC Milan. I mean, we saw it last year in the Champions League as well. I think the one thing that has AC Milan in favor in this match is, one, they're the home side, and two, they have a lot more experience in this competition. Newcastle have not played European football in a very, very long time, and this is their very first match returning to this top flight scene. So I think Newcastle definitely has what it takes to come back in the future, but for now, it's going to be a tough match away. AC Milan will grab a 2-0 victory against Newcastle. Who knows, AC Milan can continue now a losing streak, but I think that they will bounce back from that heavy Inter loss, and they have what it takes to put off a show at their own home ground. Moving on now to Young Boys versus Leipzig. Leipzig definitely looking to be the favorites on paper here, and they have truly been in phenomenal form. They have shut down many teams so far this season. It started off very strong against Bayern Munich, beating them in the Super Cup final 3-0 with the Dani Olmo hat-trick. Then they lost to Bayer Leverkusen 3-2, but to be fair, Bayer Leverkusen are looking elite this season themselves. Then they demolished Stuttgart 5-1, beat Union Berlin 3-0, and just beat Augsburg 3-0 as well. Like I already mentioned, Dani Olmo has been in fantastic form, Xavi Simons as well. Their new signing, the Slovenian striker Šeško, has really been proving his worth. I'm going to say Leipzig have what it takes to get another 3-0 win. Their third consecutive 3-0 win in a row, if this comes true. Now for Porto versus Shakhtar. In the Portuguese league itself, Porto have not lost so far this season, but everything has been extremely narrow for them. Meanwhile, I believe Shakhtar is playing every single one of their matches this season in Germany, in Hamburg. This side always has some young Ukrainian gems that can definitely evolve in the future. We've already seen last season as well, Mudryk balling out. But regardless, even before the Mudryk days, Shakhtar are known to be a surprise package in the Champions League. They've put off incredible fights against Real Madrid, even beating them at one point this decade. So do not count out the Ukrainian side. However, I do have Porto just narrowly edging this. I'm going to say they win this match 2-1. Now for Barcelona versus Antwerp. Will Xavi crumble in the Champions League once again? He's got to start off strong here for sure. This group is very doable for him. No disrespect to Antwerp. Maybe they can pull off something here. But if they're playing in Barcelona, they must grab a win. They just defeated Real Betis 5-0 this weekend. Joao Felix and Joao Cancelo making an instant impact for the club, both scoring in that match. I cannot see Barcelona bottling this. I'm going for a 3-0 victory. Now for Manchester City versus Crvena Zvezda. Look, Crvena Zvezda. Obviously, I always root for the ex-Yugo teams. You guys know that if you're not new around here. But this is a Manchester City, one of the best teams in the world at the moment. They just won the treble. They're favorites for many to win this competition. They've set incredible scoreline records against some top teams as well in this competition. We've seen it last year against Leipzig, for example. This could age terribly, but I'm going to go big here. Manchester City destroyed Crvena Zvezda 7-0. Obviously, I really hope the Serbian club prove me wrong, but I really think Manchester City can start off very high in their Champions League campaign this season. Now for PSG versus Borussia Dortmund, a very tough one to call. PSG are not going to be invincible at home, as on Friday they lost to Nice 2-3. Despite Mbappe scoring a brace, yeah, they failed to get any points in that match. However, prior to that, they destroyed Lyon 4-1 and beat Lens 3-1. As we all know, this is a very different squad compared to last season. They could potentially slip here. A lot of people are sleeping on Dortmund in this group, as it's a very tough one, and they are not looking too strong at the moment, getting rid of some of their best players from last season, and also not having a flying start to the Bundesliga. However, their last match, they were able to beat Freiburg 2-4. But prior to that, they did draw to a newly promoted club, and a club that some people are expecting to get relegated this season. Will not be surprised if I'm wrong on this whatsoever, but I do think PSG has what it takes to grab a narrow victory. I'm going to go for 2-1. Now for Lazio versus Atletico Madrid. Lazio have not been in good form this season. They did beat Napoli away at one point, but besides that, only losses. Meanwhile, for Atletico Madrid, it was looking good at first. Started off undefeated, including grabbing a 7-0 win at the end of August. But their match since international break ended was a 3-0 loss to Valencia. I always was a bit skeptical for Lazio, as they did lose one of their best players, Milinkovic-Savic. They did pick up some other signings this year that can definitely prove their worth, but clearly they need some time to evolve. I still think that this one will leave both teams quote-unquote frustrated here. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Now for Feyenoord versus Celtic, I went bold in my early predictions to say Feyenoord would top this difficult group, as they have a lot of incredible players. Their manager Arne Slot is only building momentum with this club. Their last 3 matches have all been demolitions. To me, they're the favorites to win this match, and unfortunately, I think Celtic will have a tough time competing in this group. I think it's going to finish 3-1 for Feyenoord. Now for Real Madrid versus Union Berlin. Absolute respect to Union Berlin for really working their way up the ladder to be where they are now. They were promoted to the Bundesliga not too long ago. They played in the first Conference League, then in the Europa League last season, and now they are in the Champions League. They did grab some solid wins at first, but then their form started to dip against the likes of Leipzig and Wolfsburg, and many people are not going to be expecting it to really return against Real Madrid. Real Madrid are going through an unfortunate injury crisis, but the players that are still around are still just pushing through. Jude Bellingham has really been a fantastic signing and has proven his price tag for now. Unfortunately, I am recording this before they play Real Sociedad, but so far in La Liga, he has scored in every single match he has played in. I wouldn't be surprised if this match is left at a narrow scoreline, but I might go a tad bit quote-unquote bold, say Real Madrid score quite a bit of goals in this match. They just love the Champions League, don't they? So I'm going to say they beat Union Berlin 4-1. Now for Galatasaray versus Copenhagen. Unfortunately for Copenhagen, they look to be outmatched in this group. We'll love to see them prove everybody wrong, but if anyone's going for a quote-unquote dark horse to make it out of this group, it's Galatasaray, as they've really evolved their team, making a lot of incredible signings this window, and if they want any sort of chance, they definitely need to grab a win at home against the quote-unquote weaker team in this group. So I'm going to say it's a decent win, but it's only kept at 2-0. Moving on to Benfica versus Salzburg. Salzburg, as we know, year after year produce a lot of incredible talent. Could be an underdog in this group, but Benfica have really proven their worth last season in the Champions League, topping a difficult group. Yes, they are missing some of those incredible players, but I still think they will cause damage, at least grab second in this group. So of course they're going to have to start off strong and grab a victory at home. They grabbed 1 loss so far this season in the Portuguese league, and it was a narrow result, finishing 3-2. Other than that, it's just been wins, so they have been on a winning streak now, and I think it's going to continue. I think Benfica has what it takes to get a 3-1 victory. Now for Real Sociedad versus Inter Milan. Like I said, I'm recording this match before Real Sociedad play Real Madrid, but I am recording this after Inter Milan smashed AC Milan. Inter Milan are the only team that have only grabbed wins in the Serie A so far. Meanwhile, Real Sociedad remain undefeated in La Liga, but they have grabbed way too many draws. Maybe this one could finish in a draw, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm going to say Inter are able to grab a very narrow away win. I know they just demolished AC Milan, but I think it's going to slow down a tad bit here, especially if they're going away. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Inter Milan victory. Now moving on to Braga versus Napoli. Braga, unfortunately, are being underestimated by many in this group. They just picked up their first loss of the season this weekend, and they're obviously coming up against the Italian champions. However, they have not been looking to be the most consistent as of now. They started off strong, but like I said, they lost to Lazio, and just now they grabbed a 2-2 draw against Genoa. Their defense at the moment does not look to be as elite as last year, so maybe Braga can squeeze in a few goals. Maybe this match could finish in a draw. I wouldn't be surprised if it does, but I still think Napoli has what it takes to get a win away, so I'm going to go for 3-1. Now for Arsenal versus PSV. Both these sides are already familiar with each other as they were in the same Europa League group. Arsenal ended up topping the group, but both of these sides did grab a win against each other. I'm recording this before Everton play Arsenal, but so far Arsenal have been doing alright. They have had a few questionable moments, for example against Fulham when they blew that lead. People are raising their eyebrows over their new signing Kai Havertz. They still have a solid foundation, of course. They got a massive win against Manchester United, but they cannot sleep on PSV. I'm sure they know that by now, but PSV this season have been massive so far. 2 4-0 wins in a row, also demolishing Rangers in the second leg when they had to qualify for the Champions League. I could see this match going to a draw, but I'm going to say Arsenal just squeezed through. It's a very high-scoring match. Arsenal grab a 3-2 victory. Best of luck to both teams though. Should be a really good one to watch. Now for Sevilla versus Lens. Sevilla have been in terrible form so far in La Liga. 3 for 3 losses. Recording this before they play Las Palmas this weekend, but at the time I'm recording this, they sit dead last in La Liga. It's a pretty similar theme to last season, to be honest. Sevilla really struggled in La Liga at first, then they started to build themselves back up. We're in the Champions League as well, secured a Europa League position, and ended up winning that tournament. So it's a bit tough to judge Sevilla's poor form at the moment. They can easily return in the future, and they are coming up against a side that is also not in great form. Lens also have not grabbed a single win in Ligue 1 so far, just 1 draw and 4 losses. Therefore, both of these teams should desperately strive for a win here, as this is their perfect opportunity to grab any sort of points to maybe, the way things are going right now, I gotta say, is maybe secure a Europa League position. I know I said Sevilla could edge through in the Champions League predictions, but that was before they were in terrible form. Now I'm starting to question that. I think PSV might have what it takes to secure second instead. However, yeah, I think it's going to be Sevilla on top, but very narrowly. If they're the home side, I think they got it. I'm going to say they grab a 1-0 victory against Lens. And last but not least, Bayern Munich versus Manchester United. A highly anticipated matchup, but I'm almost positive almost everybody's predicting Bayern Munich to go all out in this. Manchester United have not been looking convincing at all so far. They just narrowly beat a very poor looking Wolverhampton side, then lost to Tottenham, narrowly beat Nottingham Forest at Old Trafford, after conceding 2 goals in 4 minutes by the way, then lost to Arsenal and Brighton 3-1. Bayern Munich already have a very notable reputation to really just cruise through Premier League clubs if they have to face them so early. And right now, Manchester United will look to be the next victim. This club is one of the most elite sides in the Champions League. I'm sorry, Manchester United fans, but I'm going for Bayern winning this match 4-0. It should be closer. It might be closer, but just take a look at what Bayern Munich have done over the years against a lot of top clubs. I don't think this is going to end well, but good luck to Manchester United. Anyway, guys, those are all of my predictions for match day 1. Make sure you let me know your thoughts in the comments below, along with sharing your predictions on my Predictor League, leaving the link in the description below along with the code. So make sure you join before the Champions League begins. I am uploading this right before match day 1 begins, but I think it was worth to kind of push this last minute. Next time, I might try to upload it a little bit earlier, as I do have some big plans the weekend before match day 2 begins. Also, I have not forgotten about the Conference League. I will upload that prediction next. I'm sorry it's been taking me so long for that, but yeah, don't worry, it is coming. Anyways, I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care. La con noche.